Plato described the ideas not so much as neutral objects of dispassionate rational apprehension, but as transcendent essences that, when directly experienced by the pure philosopher, evoke a tense emotional response and even mystical rapture. The philosopher is literally a lover of wisdom and approaches his intellectual task as a romantic quest of universal significance. For Plato, the ultimate reality is not only ethical and rational in nature, but also aesthetic. The good, the true, and the beautiful are effectively united in the supreme creative principle, at once commanding moral affirmation, intellectual allegiance, and aesthetic surrender. As the most accessible of the forms, visible in part even to the physical eye, beauty opens up human awareness to the existence of the other forms, drawing the philosopher toward the beatific vision and knowledge of the true and the good. Hence Plato suggested that the highest philosophical vision is possible only to one with the temperament of a lover. The philosopher must permit himself to be inwardly grasped by the most sublime form of eros, that universal passion to restore a former unity, to overcome the separation from the divine and become one with it. Plato described knowledge of the divine as being implicit in every soul, but forgotten. The soul, immortal, experiences direct and intimate contact with the eternal realities prior to birth. But the postnatal human condition of bodily imprisonment causes the soul to forget the true state of affairs. The goal of the philosopher is to free the soul from the deluded condition in which it is deceived by the finite imitation and veiling of the eternal. The philosopher's task is to recollect the transcendent ideas, to recover a direct knowledge of the true causes and sources of all things. In the Republic, Plato illustrated the difference between authentic knowledge of reality and the illusion of appearances with a striking image. Human beings are like prisoners chained to the wall of a dark, subterranean cave, where they can never turn around to see the light of fire that is higher up and at a distance behind them. When objects outside the cave pass in front of the light, the prisoners mistake as real what are merely shadows created on the wall. Only one who is freed from his chains and leaves the cave to enter into the world beyond can glimpse into true reality. Though when first exposed to the light, he may be so overwhelmed by its dazzling luminosity as to be unable to recognize its actual character. Yet once he habituates himself to the light and comes to recognize the true causes of things, he would hold precious the clarity of his new understanding. Recalling his former fate among the other prisoners, where all insistently devote their minds to the understanding of mere illusions, he would, like Homer, prefer to endure anything in the real world rather than be forced to live in the underworld of shadows. Indeed, were he required to return to the cave and, unaccustomed to its darkness, contend with the others in their usual activity of understanding the shadows, he would likely only provoke their ridicule and be unable to persuade them what they were perceiving was only as a dim reflection of reality. For Plato, then, the great task facing the philosopher was to emerge from the cave of shadows and bring his darkened mind back into the archetypal light, the true source of being. When speaking of this high reality, Plato repeatedly linked light, truth, and goodness. In the Republic, he described the idea of the good as being to the intelligible realm what the sun is to the visible realm, in the same way that the sun allows objects of the visible world to grow and to be visible. So does the good grant to all objects of reason their existence and their intelligibility. The philosopher's attainment of virtue consists in his discovering that luminous knowledge which brings harmony between the human soul and the cosmic order of archetypes, an order governed and illuminated by the supreme idea of the good. Yet to achieve liberation from the unenlightened state requires extraordinarily sustained intellectual and moral effort, so that the intellect, considered by Plato the highest part of the soul, can rise above the merely sensible and physical to reattain the lost knowledge of the ideas. In some dialogues, Plato emphasized the power of dialectic, or rigorously self-critical logic, to accomplish this aim, while elsewhere he spoke more of a spontaneous recognition by the intuitive intellect, a visitation or a moment of grace, as it were, after a long discipline. In either case, the recollection of the ideas is both the means and the goal of true knowledge. And so Plato's primary directive for philosophy focused on the strenuous development of the intellect and will, motivated by a ceaseless desire to reattain the lost union with the eternal. Through the labor of philosophical recollection, the human mind can bring to birth the divine wisdom that was its former possession. Education, therefore, is in the service of the soul and the divine. Moreover, education is a process through which truth is not introduced into the mind from without, but is led out from within. The mind then finds revealed within itself a knowledge both of its own nature and of the universe, a knowledge otherwise clouded by the obscurities of mundane existence. Under Plato's guidance, the classical Paedia assumed the deeper metaphysical and spiritual dimensions of the academy, an institution as much monastery as university, holding forth the ideal of inner perfection realized through disciplined education.